Hi, it's Linda, and we're going to go over Module 3. I'd like you to take a look at this module with me when you have a chance. It's just two chapters, chapters 10 and 11. So although it may seem like less to do, there's still a lot to do as far as your marketing plan during this 8-week session. So Module 10, we're going to start by reading about the product. Remember, we talked about the 4 Ps, and now we're going to start getting into the 4 Ps. And product is probably the heart of that marketing program. It's usually the starting point in creating a marketing mix. Although the other 4 Ps are just as important, I want you to think about it as far as the heart. I like doing that. So you're going to read the textbook and read about the types of consumer products. And this is an interesting part of the chapter, I feel. You're going to learn about the difference between a convenience product. I think about going to a convenience store, or a shopping product, like you're going to a mall and you're shopping for something, or a specialty product. I always use the example of a Derek Jeter baseball because I love Derek Jeter. Okay, so you could use Judge. Okay, I'm a Yankee fan, sorry. So specialty products, and then the unsought products. So usually it's those 4 categories that products fall into, and unsought is something that maybe you didn't see coming. And something that you'll remember is maybe getting a flat tire. You weren't expecting to have to replace 1 or all 4 tires, but now it's unsought and you have to do it. So we put products into one of these 4 categories just because it's easier to think about the rest of the Ps as far as pricing or promotion. If you think about it, you're pretty desperate for unsought products, so the pricing might be a little bit higher on that. The other thing we're going to do look at in this chapter is product lines and mixes. Companies usually have a number of products, and they kind of put them in lines. If you look at Disney, they have the ESPN, they have TV, they have movies, they have theme parks. Those are different lines. And again, it's easier to divide things and organize things when we have marketing mixes. And then we also talk about the width of a product mix. So some companies have a lot of different drink offerings, maybe, or they have a lot of cereal offerings. And so that's kind of the width of products. There's a lot of other interesting things in this products chapter 10. And I think one of the important ones is branding, because this has a lot to do with your product and how people see your product and how they remember your product. And then, of course, how you promote that brand. But branding is a really big part of your product, and creating something that people will love, enjoy, remember, and rely on and come back to and buy again is all centered around the brand. So branding strategies, read about that in chapter 10, really important. And then, of course, packaging. In chapter 10, you want to read about how you put things into packaging, and packaging is partially product, partially promotion, because if it's sitting on a shelf, excuse me, people are going to see it and be attracted to it, possibly. I always use in my international marketing class the example of a wine bottle in Germany. Germany was not known for very pretty wine labels, and they put lots of words on it, lots of information, and they thought that was good. Well, nobody was buying their wines, and they had a consultant come in and say, let's change the packaging, let's change the labeling, and we'll put some flowers and pretty colors and pictures and take some of that text off. And sales just soared. So packaging really is important, not just for the information value, but also and protection, protects the product, but for promotion, and so people notice the product. So a lot labeling is in that product, in that chapter as well. And then you're going to go into chapter 11, which goes into a little bit more detail about products and developing and managing those products, because we either introduce a new product or we have an update on a product. So the new product development process is really an interesting one. If you have an idea for a product or service, you can certainly look at that. And there's testing phases and ideas and business analysis and going back to testing, and if people want it and if it works. And so it's really an interesting chapter, and I like it. It parallels really well into my entrepreneurship classes. So you might want to read that if you're interested in entrepreneurship and just coming up with new products. And maybe it's just an improved product too. At one time I had a guest speaker from Sara Lee, and he's a baker and a chef, and he came in and he talked about how they make new breads and how they test it. And it's a long process, but a really interesting one. So read chapter 11, and you might want to look at the different life cycles of products and services, because as we know, nothing lasts forever. Although peanut butter is one that if you introduced when it was introduced, and now it's just in maturity phase forever and ever and ever. I love peanut butter, so I always use that example. But a lot of products are introduced and they're in the growth phase, and then they hit a plateau and then go into decline if you don't pay attention to it. So there's some really great case studies about the product life cycle, and just being aware of that life cycle is really important, because you want to keep it in growth, keep it out of maturity, and certainly keep it out of decline. So that's another interesting part of chapter 11. So these chapters are not too intense. They're really interesting. And during this time, you're going to read about it. There's some PowerPoints if you care to look at it. You're going to do your concept check. And then we're not taking the quiz. You're seeing this, but for the 8-week session, I've taken it out. And then chapter 11, you're going to read, look at PowerPoints, do your concept check, and there's a really fun assignment. Actually, Ben & Jerry's ice cream creation. You're going to be a flavor guru. And I created this, excuse me, because first of all, I love ice cream, love Ben & Jerry's. And Ben & Jerry's went to my alma mater. So I don't know if you can see, oh, you can't see it. I have my background blurred. But Penn State has an amazing ice cream agricultural program, and Ben & Jerry way back when took the equivalent of an online course. Back then it was not online, but it was a course that they took off campus and learned how to make ice cream, and the rest is history. Now, Ben & Jerry's is now owned by Unilever, which is a huge corporation, but they retain the right to run that part of the company. And so the assignment is there for you. It's 30 points, but it's fun. There's a lot to it. And then the other thing I really want you to do is write your product strategy for the marketing plan. And there's information here about doing the marketing plan strategy. You're going to have to talk to your owner or manager, if you haven't already, and find out all the products and services that they offer, and have kind of a menu of those products and services. And that would be the current. So in every one of the 4 Ps, excuse me, in your marketing plan, you're going to have current and suggested ideas. For product strategy, you're going to have current and suggested ideas this time. So you're going to write a draft, all of their current and current products and or services. And then you're going to make suggestions. And those suggestions are going to be based on your secondary research, your research out there online, and also your research by surveying and talking to people and proposed or potential customers, proposed target market, and those surveys. So if you make blue, purple, and green ice cream and they want pink, violet, and I don't know, yellow ice cream or whatever, you know, you're going to make those suggestions here in the product strategy draft. And this is worth 20 points. And this is part of your final project. So I suggest you do a really good job. Let me edit it with you, give you some feedback, and then excuse me, you're going to put it into your final project. So although we are working on module 3 this time, if you want to move on to module 4 and get into distribution, you can go ahead and do that. I'll do a separate video for that overview, but keep going. This is 8 weeks, goes by fast, and your final project is really big, and it's going to take a lot of time. So if you have any minute or two or hour or two or day or two, please spend it on your final project. And that's it for this overview. Thanks.